Good morning, rock stars, and welcome to week 4 of the Star Bright Quilt Along. And not to brag or anything, but I'm here early. I'm getting better at finger housing now. I brag about that, but I did forget to send out the link till this morning. So you win some, you lose some. Welcome to my slightly disco balled sewing room. If you see these rainbows across my face, you're not like your eyes are fine. That's actually happening. I have a very large prism that lives in my window, and it is a beautiful sunny day here in Duluth, Georgia, and my room is full of rainbows, and I don't know what's more magical than that right there. Hupster is texting me. Oh, dear. Okay. Yeah. He sent me a long text. We're going to read that later. Okay. Let's see. Sue says, I'm almost caught up. Ann says, good morning. Quilting Beauty and Books says, good morning from Stephanie, North Carolina. Good morning, Kathy, Prince Joe, Judith, Jerry. Hello, hello. I'm so thrilled that you guys are here. We're going to just chatterbox for a hot moment because I'm early, but I'm going to go ahead and make a quick announcement. I think many of you who are here now are already familiar with this event. I will talk about it in more detail as we are going along, but I'm going to go ahead and drop a link in the chat to the Quilting Plan Challenge, because at the end of our time together this morning, and I'm going to keep scooting this back a little bit so y'all can see a little bit more of my sewing space. At the end of our time together this morning, you are going to have a finished Flimsy. Today is the last official day of our Star Bright Quilt Along, which is terribly exciting, but you now have a very large quilt top that you might be thinking, what do I do now? Right? Fear not. I knew this moment would come, and so I have preemptively designed for you the Quilting Plan Challenge, which is a free event that is happening next week. We will still be here live on YouTube, but we'll be here every day for 5 days. And yo-ho-ho. Yo-ho-ho. I thought I was excited last week when I finished the workbook for this event, but I was continuing to kind of flesh out each day's lessons yesterday, and even thinking through some of the things that I want to share on social media between now and then for this event, and I'm stoked. Okay, like I've been teaching, if you've been here for a minute, you know, I've been teaching free motion quilting for several years now. I've been teaching quilting plans quite a lot. I love to share, love to share quilting plans, love to talk about quilting plans, but I've never quite taught quilting plans the way that I'm teaching it next week. I think it is an evolution in my journey as a teacher. And so I hope it is also going to be a significant moment of evolution in your journey as a free motion quilter. So if you've not already signed up, click the link that I dropped in the chat or go to stringandstory.com/quilting plan challenge. It's a free event. It's going to be awesome. All right. Okay. We are at 11:02. So I'm going to jump on in. Today it's going to be pretty quick because we are just putting together these blocks. So I'm going to grab, sweet Hubster, I love you, but please don't send me these big, long, wonderful texts right now. Okay, I'm going to grab my phone and I'm going to actually pull up our video over here so I'm not having to lean so far in order to see your comments. Here we are. Make sure my volume is turned all the way down. Brilliant. Oh, I love seeing how many of you guys are signed up. That is wonderful. All right. So we have our blocks from last week, and you'll be able to see here, right? I finished webbing these, and I pressed these seams away from each other. These are the final seams of the block. All right. So we have 4 blocks we're putting together today. I'm going to use that same webbing technique, but the focus that I want to show you today is that these are all pressed the same, all right? We talked about that a lot last week. And so when we're quilting them, we're going to be rotating them 90 degrees from each other, and that's how we're going to get these seams to nest. Now, unfortunately, because these are big blocks, I can't be like, whoop, and like show you the 90-degree turn, but you'll get the idea, all right? Judith, you rock star. She joined the challenge. She joined the guild. I love it. Yes, those of you who are wrapping up your Free Motion Quilting Academy journey, the guild is open for you guys right now too. Okay, so here's what I want you to see. If I just line these up without rotating, my seams are going the same direction, okay? And they're not going to be nested, and we want our seams nested. So if I rotate this 90 degrees, see now I can nest these seams, all right? So we want to do that. And the tricky bit is going to come when we do the second two, because we want to make sure that they're going to nest all the way around. All right. Ah, Sue, I adore you. Sue is just shamelessly plugging things. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Y'all, the stoke is high here at String and Story right now. Your girl is not sleeping a whole lot because she's very excited. Been busy, busy, busy. Some of you who signed up for the Quilting Plan Challenge, especially those of you who signed up over the weekend, I spent a lot of time last night reading all of your responses to that very first email. So when you sign up for the Quilting Plan Challenge, one of the very first emails that you get from me just simply says, hey, like, respond and tell me what your hangups about quilting plans are. And I read about 800 responses last night and had the opportunity to respond. Now, those responses are not personalized at this point, but I'm taking notes because I'm going to answer those questions next week. But I'm the person who's reading those. And it was phenomenal. I was talking to my best friend, Lexa, and I just was like, this is giving me so much insight about, like, how I can be teaching this better. So guys, oh, it's going to be wonderful. It's going to be wonderful. So great question. The Guild is for students in Free Motion Quilting Academy. So Free Motion Quilting Academy is my signature 12-week Free Motion Quilting course. You'll be hearing about that in about a week and a half as well. We're getting ready to have enrollment. And then the Guild is the follow-up piece to that. So great, great question. All righty. We have I dropped some pins in here. I'm actually going to drop one more. Now notice, remember we even alternated how we pressed our corner triangles, so I can nest these as well. Yes, I know that was horrifying for me to put that in my mouth. All right, and then we can run this seam. I was going to say, why do I feel like my bobbin just ran out? Because my bobbin just ran out. This is why, guys, I finally got smart and got a box to keep my bobbins in, which is super handy. Just found it online. It was super affordable, like maybe 10 bucks. And I've started keeping a stash of wound bobbins so that when we are, I don't know that it even ran out. Oh, it didn't run out. It just got, I guess the thread got stuck. Okay, it didn't quite pick up properly. Or my needle, the needle came unthreaded. Okay, I was like, something happened with my thread. Anyway, but I did figure out that it's handy to keep a stash of bobbins wound so that when we are sewing together, if my bobbin runs out, we don't have to stop and wind one. All right, let me see what happened with my needle thread here. I cut my thread with my thread cutter, and my greatest sorrow on this Juki. Y'all know I love this machine, but my greatest sorrow on this machine is that when you use the thread cutter, it makes those tails real short. So I don't use it very often. Because it can cause issues like this, but I have to occasionally in order to unlock my touch screen. All right. All right, we are back in business. That is good news. How y'all doing? Marie, it is totally fine that you just have one block done. These are quick blocks. These are quick blocks. And guys, another thing that I did not mention is for this Quilting Plan Challenge next week, I'm using Star Bright as my example quilt. So y'all will have a bit of an added bonus that you will be potentially, you don't have to, you can choose any quilt top you like for the work we do together next week. But you'll have a little added bonus that you can potentially be working on the same quilt top that I am, which is way fun. All right, so guys, we have been here together for 4 weeks. We've been making this lovely quilt. Today we are doing our last bit of webbing and talking about nesting seams. Next week is the quilting plan challenge. What is the whole deal with the quilting plan challenge? Well, I think one of the most frequent questions that I get, and I've been noticing that this question comes both from folks who have and have not taken Free Motion Quilting Academy. So that tells me that this is an area of teaching that I need to grow in, right? Because it's my job to guide you to quilt with confidence. And I have found an area where confidence is lacking, even amongst my students who graduated from the academy. And that is in the area of quilting plans. And the big question I get asked is, but what the heck do I quilt where? And it can be an overwhelming question, because I think if I see the biggest overarching theme in the email responses I have been receiving. Why did you make a funny sound? The big overarching theme in the email response I've been receiving from folks who have joined the challenge is this sense of analysis paralysis. Okay, there are so many possibilities in the world of what could be on this quilt. I don't even know where to start, right? And so you end up settling, or many quilters end up settling for straight line quilting, meandering, sending it out to a long arm, or not quilting it at all, right? It ends up just simply languishing. So next week, we're going to actually take that question head on. We're going to start at the very basics. You're going to see on my social media this week that we're actually going to be starting with mindset. So I posted on Instagram yesterday, what about your IMG, your inner mean grump, right? This is that inner critical voice that when you try something new, it freaks out big time, right? And it's like, no, we can't do this thing. We might not be safe. Or it says something like, yeah, you tried that, but you suck. Or, oh, that person tried something cool. Isn't she so full of herself, right? These are all symptoms of that inner critic, and we can all have all these symptoms, right? Now, there are pros and cons to our IMG. I outlined this for you in the Instagram post. On the one hand, it's trying to keep you alive. On the other hand, it's kind of, messing with your happiness factor here. Right? So over the next few days on social, you're going to see me talking about things like mindset, talking about like how we as human beings can grow, and that trying something new, developing a new skill, working on our quilt is exciting and fun and should be joyful. And talking about the different types of joy that can come from different types of quilt making, right? Chances are your Star Bright quilt, probably like mine, is a quilt that's going to end up either on a bed or on a couch. Right? These are quilts to be used. And the way that you would approach quilting, a quilt that is meant to be used, and the level of concern for perfection that you should have with a quilt that is meant to be used is very different from a quilt that is meant to be hung in a show. Right? I had different concerns quilting this Lanterns of Hope quilt behind me than I do quilting this Star Bright quilt in front of me, because this, I wanted it to hang at QuiltCon, which it did. It achieved its goal. That was its job. Its job is to be looked at, right? These guys, their job is going to get to be snuggled. Their job is to make me happy while I'm quilting it, right? It's a little bit different. So we're going to be doing some of that work in the next few days. And then starting on Monday, we're going to start talking about what is a quilting plan. Like, why does this matter, and why does it make our lives easier and make this whole process more enjoyable? So I'm going to drop the link again, and then I'm going to go back to talking about our piecing, but there's a little sample of where we're heading with the Quilting Plan Challenge. All right. Jeannie says, FYI for anyone who wants to know, there's a whole bunch of half square triangles that are left over from the quilt. I love that yours came out not quite square, Jeannie. And it could be the pattern. I was telling my friend Kate this morning, there's a reason I specialize in teaching free motion quilting and not pattern writing, right? So I'm, close enough is good enough is maybe not always the best mantra when it comes to piecing. But yeah, I think a border would be very, very cool, just as an aside. All right, so pause on that thought for a moment. I'm gonna unfold these two blocks slightly, because I want to be able to look at the seams on the back of this, all right? Because I'm going to take this guy and I'm going to rotate him 90 degrees, so that these seams are going to nest with each other. All right, so that's good. Then I'm going to check on this one because I want this guy's seams, right? Because they're going to attach with a horizontal stitching line in a minute. I want to orient this dude so that he is going to, I don't know why I decided these blocks are male, but apparently they are, for the sake of this conversation. I want this one to nest with this one. All right. So I'm going to need to rotate it this way. Now, ideally, now if I put these two together, their seams are going to nest, which it looks like may not be the case. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this one 180 degrees. And some of y'all just did math in your head and can already tell me whether or not that's going to work. Ha, it does work. Okay. So basically you want to do this little puzzle piece of how can I make all my seams nest? So if you followed the pressing patterns that I've been demonstrating for you, you can basically get all these guys to nest with each other. If you didn't, if you did your own thing or just didn't quite press out the way you wanted to, or just trying to think this through is stressing you out, ignore everything I'm saying. This will not make or break your quilt, okay? Close enough is good enough sometimes, all right? 80%, etc. But for those of you who are like, how do I figure this out? That's what I'm showing you. This is the process. There's not some like gorgeous, easy rule. It is literally like, let me lay it out and look at it. Okay, we make visual decisions visually, and sometimes that includes making sure that our seams nest. And sometimes we decide that we don't want to make sure our seams nest because we have other things to worry about, okay? So let me repeat that again. Making all your seams nest is not going to make or break your quilt. This is not a situation where you're going to have seams that are so thick that they're unquiltable if you don't take this time. That is not the case at all here. Your quilt is going to be just fine if your seams are going the same direction, all right? Your quilt top will be a little flatter if you nest them. That is very nice. But again, utilitarian quilt. Right now, if for some reason you're aiming for your Star Bright quilt to be in a show, sounds fabulous. Please cite me in your artist statement as the pattern writer. But if that is your goal for your Star Bright quilt, right, then it will be more important for you to take the step because you'll want this quilt top to be coming out as flat and square as possible. Some of you, having the flattest, squarest, most perfectly pieced top brings you great joy, and you're going to want to do this because it brings you great joy, all right? But do not oblige yourself to get all worked up about nested seams for a quilt that's going to go on your couch for the kids and pets to snuggle with if it does not bring you joy. We're unavailable for that. Life is too short to give ourselves ulcers over our quilting, okay? All right. Oh, Sue, that's such a sweet compliment. I have a few things rolling around in my head, and I'll be honest with you. The biggest objection to writing more patterns is time for me, right? Because I'm still the only full-time person at String and Story. But that's definitely something that has crossed my mind as we continue to grow of like, is this something that should make its way back onto my plate, you know, as other things are making their way off? So I appreciate that feedback. I really do. What backing and binding colors am I using for the navy one? It will either be bound in orange or mustard. I can tell you that for sure. The backing, I'm not sure yet because I'm pretty sure that I'm out of the navy. So either I'm going to have to order another bolt of the navy because I need more navy, or I'm going to be scrounging in my stash for something. I don't remember if Paintbrush has any wide backs. I don't think they do, but this would be such a great quilt to use a wide back on. So that's something I would consider as well. Ooh, or if they still have, they had this great Constellation line a few years ago. I wonder if they still carry that. Because that would make a really pretty print on the back. I'll keep you posted, Marie. I'll keep you posted. All right. Should I probably have that figured out by now? Yeah, probably. Probably. I think mustard could make a really pretty back. Again, I think it depends on what you're wanting to do with this quilt, right? Because this would also make a really pretty picnic quilt. And you could do some like duck canvas, like a light canvas on the back if you wanted it as a picnic. Ooh, I kind of want it as a picnic quilt now. Dang it, Helene. See, then I go inspiring myself and get all carried away. Now I'm going to have to go buy canvas. A navy orange flange biting. That would sound so pretty. Your new sewing machine is in. Sue, that's so exciting. Okay. Yay. All right. Just so you know, I've pinned these seams where they matched up with each other and I'm sewing them together. Carry on with your bad selves. I just wanted to let you know that that's the step that I'm currently taking so I don't lose it about it. So you made my whole day complimenting my patterns. I'm very self-conscious about my pattern writing. Look at me getting all like vulnerable about that. Good heavens. All right. This poor fabric. I can tell that I've been moving it around my sewing room a lot because the edges are kind of stringy. Been touching it too much, moving it around. Those seams did not match up as I went over them. Whoops. Not losing sleep over it, though. Not losing sleep over it. Let's see. Aw, Sue, I appreciate that. I can only aspire to be on pattern writing of that level. All right, so what we have here is an interesting thing, all right? So these are very big blocks, and typically at this stage, it would be handy to go press these seams, right? But these are big, gnarly things. If we go all the way over there and we're pressing this, it's just going to be a handful, especially considering we know that all the seams except for the center one are already pressed, so they're going to nest. So do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go ahead and fold this up on itself, pin it across, and I'm simply going to finger press this join. All right. And then when I go over there, we will spin this seam and press all 4 sections at one time, rather than going back and forth, manhandling this thing a whole bunch more, okay? Oh, what did you trade in, Sue? Oh, and your piece backing will look so nice. Traded your embroidery machine in. Ooh. It does take a lot of stuff. That is a great point. Woo! Congrats on your new machine, babe. Ooh. Okay, so it doesn't really matter which direction these two go. I just need to make one go one direction and one go the other. All right. Now I'm going to, yeah. So we'll just bump them up against each other and finger press that join. Again, if you are aiming for a show quilt with this, you'd probably want to go ahead and go through the full step of getting up and pressing what we've done so far. But finger pressing is going to serve my purposes perfectly well. Yeah, I think picking up a new machine is definitely, that's like therapy right there. That's mental health. Mental health. Love it. So Husqvarna Viking. Yeah, you could definitely, so these are very large blocks. These are 36-inch blocks. So you could definitely put a border on them and use them as baby quilts. 100%. What I love about this particular quilt is that I only have to make 4 blocks in order to have a really large throw. And you could honestly, you could make it 3 by 3 and have a bed-sized quilt so fast, which I just think is very cool. There's a decent likelihood that these quilts, well, it might get kind of dirty if we do that. There's a part of me that's very tempted to use them as bed quilts for the boys. So the boys are on twin beds. So they wouldn't be quite as long as a usual twin. But the beds that they're on right now are very low to the ground. So they don't need a lot of drape down at the foot. And we're thinking about getting them bunk beds, which you also don't need a lot of drape for the bunk bed because you don't have anywhere for it to go. So, Jeannie, the hard thing would be getting on Bonnie's waiting list to be at the Quiltville Inn. I'm pretty sure she's booked out like until the good Lord comes back. Like, she's booked way out. But have I been thinking about a guild retreat? You betcha. I will be thinking about it much more seriously as soon as I finish moving because I have to get over the shock and horror of having to pack up the sewing room first. Oh. So Hubster is working on the town green this morning, and he sent me a picture of the city of Duluth testing the splash pad fountain because they're turning the splash pad back on next week, which is so exciting. Cannot wait. I'll take the kids and dog down to the splash pad like every day, all summer. It's my plan for sanity. No worries. There will absolutely be a replay. Always. One black thing I'm going to add borders, make an average lap quilt. Love it. Continued the mustard points into a border. Love that as well. So good. Yeah, twin size. These are easy to size up to a twin. Easy, easy. All right, guys, last seam. Like, hold on to your butts, folks. We are at the last seam already. Zip, zip, zip. We would have been done a hot minute ago, except I'm talking so much. Some of y'all are probably like, yeah, Holly Ann, I already sewed my last seam. All right. Oh, I'm so excited. These are so pretty. They look so good. I'm not going to lie. I'm really thrilled that I made both colorways. Kind of obsessed. Kind of obsessed. Just slowing down at some of these joins to make sure things are matching up correctly. Let's see. I only have room for one block, so I'm making two, each a different colorway. Love it. These make great table toppers and wall hangings, by the way, guys. Like if you make two blocks, you get to hang one like on the wall in your dining room and put one on the table. Because they're just big and bright, and this is the kind of project or the kind of block that I like to use in like decor because it comes together quickly, and especially for something that's going to go on the table. If it's going to go on the table, it's going to get spills on it, right? So I want something that I haven't necessarily put, you know, a million years of my life into, but I want it to look pretty. Oh, now my bobbin really did run out. All right. I was like, wait a second. Wait a second. So yeah, for those of you who have the winter hexagon, well, all of you have it because you're stitching along with me. But if you flip through the winter hexagon minis pattern booklet, that's kind of the whole theme of the pattern bundle is the idea of, you know, quilts around the home, not just, you know, as snuggle quilts, but as table runners and as placemats, and having some small fun projects that we can use to practice various piecing skills, to practice our quilting skills, right? This is exactly what makes Star Bright, whether you have made the throw size or you just make a single block, or honestly, any of the projects in the Winter Hexagon Minis bundle. Really great candidates for practicing quilting plans, practicing free motion quilting is because they're kind of user-friendly sizes. And there's something to that. There's something to, like, let me practice this on something that's a little lower stakes, right? We're going to be talking about that a good bit at the beginning of next week. You know, if you've already downloaded your workbook, then you've seen in there one of your very first homework assignments is to be choosing a quilt top to be making a quilting plan for next week. And next week, you know, we're just talking like theory and plan next week. At the very end of the week, we'll start touching on, you know, the actual act of the quilting itself. But even in that planning stage, planning for something that is lower stakes, because I want you to go from the planning to the execution, right? All right, so let's talk through this. We now have, are you ready? Oh, I'm so excited. I'm sorry, look at that, it's so pretty. We now have a beautiful Star Bright quilt top. What's gonna happen next, and I'm just gonna talk you guys through it because you'll actually be able to see a little bit better with me over here rather than me taking you over to the pressing station. But this is that center join, and I'm going to grab my seam ripper. Ha! I was like, it couldn't have gone far. I'm going to grab my seam ripper, and I'm just going to pop this middle stitch, right? So the stitch that crossed right over there. And now I can open this up. See this little 4 patch that it makes right there in the center? So now when I go over to press, I will start at that 4 patch, and that 4 patch tells me the direction that each seam should be pressed. See that? So we can see already the spin that's happening. It's called spinning the seam. We did this already with these other diamonds. All right, we're now just doing it at scale from the center. All right, so when I go press this, I will press these 4 seams in the direction indicated by that little 4 patch, and my whole quilt will be nice and flat and gorgeous. So we officially have a Star Bright quilt top. Congratulations, everyone. This quilt, if you make the 4 blocks, is definitely enough for a lap quilt. It's 72 by 72. Yes, so if you take 1 block and put a border on it, you could have a smaller, kind of more reasonable size lap quilt. This is nearing a twin size quilt, essentially. Yes, I like that table runner a lot too. I want to remake it with some solids. I kind of want to remake everything in that bundle now. I've been thinking about that. The placemats that are pictured in the Winter Hexagon Minis bundle, those are also made with Paintbrush Studio fabrics. That is the Jackie's Favorites bundle, just as an aside. If you know, liked working with Paintbrush for your Star Bright, just thought I would mention that is a bundle that you can get via Paintbrush. You always give your pup a milk bone at noon, and the time... It became the time we did with hot. Oh my gosh, Marion, that makes me so happy. Yay, Francie Joe, say hi to your mom. I love that she hears my voice and starts begging. I think it just means that she likes me now. I don't know how many of you guys remember this. This was several years ago now. But Kate, Tony, and I from Tough Kitten Crafts, we are tight. We talk all the time. And we've only hung out in person a couple of times, right? And I was down in Florida. Gosh, I wonder what Thanksgiving was this now? Thanksgiving 2019, maybe? And she and I talked using an app called Voxer. And it is a voice app. And so we chat back and forth. And so it's kind of like being on the phone, but it's not necessarily in real time, right? Well, we both have pets. And at the time I didn't have a dog, but she had a dog. And her dog's name is Alfred. And so Alfred hears me talking to her anytime she doesn't have her AirPods in. And so I go over to her house to like meet her for the first time when I'm down in Florida, right? And her dog, Alfred's like a hound dog. So he's like barking his head off as I'm walking to the door. And I see him and I go, oh, Alfie, hey boy. Cause like I know him, right? Like we hadn't met, but like I hear him bark when we're talking. He hears my voice. Like I'm very familiar with who Alfred is. And I'm like, Alfred, it's me. This dog immediately stops barking, starts begging, comes running out the door, runs right up to me, and was glued to me the rest of the time I was there. And Kate and I were in shock because we just hadn't realized like the level of familiarity, even though he'd never seen me, he'd never smelled me, but he knew my voice. And he was like, oh, you're a friend. I know who you are. So our dogs are amazing critters, all that to say. So Amy, this is a great question. So Paintbrush themselves has an Etsy shop, and I am working on expanding my inventory of Paintbrush. So my hope is that a couple months from now, I will be able to say I can be your online source for Paintbrush fabrics. Right now, there's still some yardage listed left over from the Starbright bundles. I have quite a bit of yardage in stock of most of the Aurifil Color Builders colors, but they are not yet listed in the shop. Soon, I hope. In an ideal universe, like next week, reality, probably the end of May because of the move. So right now, I encourage you to check out their shop. If there's stuff you have in mind, like if you're planning a project, there's stuff you're interested in, you can always email me. Let me know what you would like to see show up in the String and Story shop, because I am starting to carry their solids now. And I love it because they're hard to find online and they're my favorite solids, and I work with Paintbrush. So it just is a win for everybody. So let me know your thoughts on that, Amy. Yes. Oh, Amy, that made me so happy. So you can email me at hello@stringandstory.com if there are colors you already have in mind, or if there's kind of something you're looking ahead on. And I can keep that in mind. And I can also let you know if I happen to have any of those colors in stock already from having the Aurifil Color Builders. Because I have finished making the Aurifil Color Builders kits, but I still have yardage of probably 25 of the 36 colors or so. Yeah, I know. I love them. And they're so rich and thick and soft. I feel like they're like the best of all the other solids. Like they're thick like Kona, and they've got really rich colors and a nice hand. Like they just, I don't know. I'm a big fan. I'm biased. I'm biased, obviously. Love it. Marianne, I love that she loves me. That makes me very happy. What is Pupper's name? Yeah, because now I need to start saying her name so she can really learn my voice. All right, guys, welcome to the end of the Starbright Quilt Along. It has been an absolute delight to quilt with you, to piece with you these last few weeks. I hope we will be quilting together going forward. So again, I'm going to drop this link here in the chat. If you're watching on the replay, it'll be in the caption wherever you are watching. But please sign up for the Quilting Plan Challenge. I'm going to be specifically talking about the Starbright quilt. But y'all, I'm going to be teaching quilting plans, I think, in a level of detail and like methodically, like being more methodical in my teaching of quilting plans than I ever have before. I really do believe that this challenge is going to be a landmark in my journey as a free motion quilting educator, and this piece of teaching free motion quilting. And I hope that it's going to be a transformational experience for you guys as well, and build your confidence in this area and move our conversation forward into how we talk about making quilting plans. So I'm so pumped. I'm so excited. So yes, Marianne, if you are a member of the Guild, great question. If you go log into the Guild inside Kajabi, and it's in that welcome section, there's a lesson, if you will, that has the shop discount in it. Yes. Thank you for asking. So guys, I will see you inside the Quilting Plan Challenge. Members of the Guild, I will see you tomorrow for our live time together. And I'll see all of you on social media and via my email list as we continue discussing mindset, joy in our quilting, how to design our quilting plans, and finish our quilts with confidence. Thank you so much for joining me. I'll see you soon.